call most people dread, the call from the bill collector.
It's almost like the Grim Reaper. And when a Utah man got the call from a years-old debt, he says the collector resorted to shouting and threats to get him to pay up. So he actually hung up on him. And who did he call? Bill Gephardt, because Gephardt gets it on
hang up on anybody. That's right. We don't hang up on anybody. That's exactly right.
Exactly.
I don't dread the call from the bill collector as long as you don't owe the money. But still, there are rules and laws that these guys are supposed to abide. And federal regulators are really getting tired about the complaints about all the debt collector complaints that are coming in. Thousands of people say they're being harassed for money they don't owe. And many others complain of aggressive tactics that can include abusive language. Now, even if you've fallen behind on payments, debt collection agencies have to follow certain federal laws and rules. And as a Utah man learned, you have rights.
I didn't ever remember taking out anything with them or like that.
Sherman Harrop says he was taken by surprise by a notice he got from a debt collection agency out of Florida saying he owed them $128. But a bigger surprise came a little later when he called the agency to find out what it was all about.
That's all that he said, insurance. And I asked him, I said, what kind of insurance? And he didn't tell me.
Sherman says he's not about to pay someone $128 if he doesn't know what for. He wanted more details.
I asked him a few questions, and he got riled, and he started literally screaming at me over the phone. And
Sherman says the man's screaming only got louder as he threatened to send attorneys after him. Well, he hung up the phone when he couldn't get a word in between the yells and threats, he says. Well, now Sherman wonders if he was dealing with a scammer.
A legitimate professional company, they certainly wouldn't act that way.
That's right. At least they should not. But it turns out that's exactly who Sherman was dealing with, a legitimate debt collection agency. So we contacted another professional debt collector to find out what they can and cannot say to people who owe money.
You need to help the consumer. You're not going to get anything resolved if you don't help the consumer.
Michelle Camp says she's been in the debt collections business for 25 years. Right now, she runs Express Recovery Services in West Valley City. Camp says an agency's best interest is to be friendly and help people resolve problems.
You are required to not harass them. I mean, harassing someone is against the law.
Camp says debt collection agencies fall under the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. That law says agents have to tell you they're a bill collector. Once on the line, they cannot use obscene, profane, or abusive language. And it is illegal for them to threaten action, such as sending the attorneys after you if they don't intend to do it.
It pretty much comes down to you need to tell the truth to the consumer. So if you say that something's going to take place, then that needs to take place. Otherwise, you violated the law.
You don't have to put up with harassment or abuse. You can hang up on the abusive agent, and you can even have the right to send a letter to the collection agency telling them to stop contacting you. It's legally binding, but Camp cautions it could have a negative impact if you say, I'm done, I don't want to talk to you anymore.
In a situation where potentially there could be legal action, you kind of tie the collector's hands at that point because they can't try to call you to resolve it.
Camp says you're better off by asking a supervisor to see if they can handle the call any better. Sherman Harrop's other problem was he could not figure out why he owed the money. And Camp says you have the right to request validation.
You have the right to request validation. So you can send a letter to that agency and say, I don't understand what this bill is. I need to see documentation. I dispute this. And they can't contact you again until they provide you with that information.
We spoke to the president of the debt collection agency that contacted Sherman Harrop, and she says she defended her agent, saying they've never known this person to be abusive or raise his voice. Don't they record the calls? Couldn't they just double check? Well, of course they can.
They always
I know. But you know what? There is a place you can go, a website, if you have questions about this sort of thing, because, you know, this, for example, Mr. Harrop's not sure how he incurred the debt and says he'll send a request for validation. That's a good idea, of course. So roll forward. Let me see if I can figure out what here it is. The website is AskDrDebt.com.
AskDrDebt.com.
Yeah, AskDrDebt.com. It tells you how to complain, how to do some stuff, you know, if you're harassed, how to find out if it's a legitimate collection agency, and on and on. No, they're supposed to call up and collect.
They say that before they go in, that they record every call, you know, for, you know, verification purposes or whatever. So couldn't you just go play that back against them if they are harassing you?
We can't, but they could. Yeah. They just denied everything and said, oh, we have no previous problem with this fella. Okay.
Wow.
Can you go listen to the recording? Well, they don't have to do that. They would if you're a federal agent.
Right.
They might have to play it back. But, well, yeah, I could get a badge. Go down to the store and get a little badge and be a federal
There you
agent.
go.
Yeah.
You can get it off the internet.
Yes, you can. You can get anything on the internet, can't you?
All right, Bill, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Hey,